Daddy gets lost. Daddy gets lost. Daddy gets lost. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy It's Last, where we discuss the challenge of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and with Maddie having Mother's Day off because he's a big girl, I'm joined by Ryan. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Maddie's not a girl. He's just his in-laws are over for the first time in a little while, so they've lifted restrictions a little bit in Queensland. Either that, or I've just tipped off the Queensland police that he's breaking the law.
No, I think they have. We're talking with TK's parents who are also in Queensland, but I think it's 50k distance. So if you're within 50 k's, you're okay.
That's a long way.
Yeah, Queensland's a big state though.
Oh, that is true. So you couldn't
Maybe get everywhere by driving. So I suppose you're pretty protected in that little car.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I was going to say, at least that way you could actually legitimately still say to your weirdo cousins in Rockhampton, "Oh, listen, you have to stay away."
Exactly. As long as you're living more than 50 k's from dodgy areas, you're feeling pretty good.
I like that rule. Maybe Dan Andrews should adopt that here. Anyway, how's London going? And how's the start of your Mother's Day? Is it actually Mother's Day in London, or is Mother's Day in October there?
Yeah, I don't actually know when it is over here, but I remember being on a work drink virtual call on Thursday and said something about, Mother's Day on Sunday. Got to send the gift type thing, and everyone was confused what I was talking about, Mother's Day in May. So, it's different over here. It's very different.
Well, hopefully you did send your mother something for Mother's Day, because she sent you a pretty good care pack for Easter that I managed to see on the social media. For the listeners out there, describe what your Easter care pack looked like, because it was impressive.
Yeah, my mum loves the events. So she loves Easter, the birthdays, Christmas. Although thanks to probably COVID and delays in mail, I only got my Easter care pack from Australia last week. But it was a plethora, and I say a mountain of chocolate. I think there was 5 chocolate bars, 5 packets of those, 12 little treat chocolates, half a dozen Easter eggs, and then there was Anzac biscuits, packets of Tim Tams, Allen's lollies, Australian wine, Australian coffee, Vegemite, Promite, and a number of other things. So we got very spoiled, and it certainly made that day of lockdown easier here in London.
Promite? Is Promite a thing that you've had before?
No. TK is a fan of both Vegemite and Promite, so that's both her.
There you go. And how much of the chocolate is left? Because it was a legit mountain.
There's plenty. I've gone through two of the bunnies because they came over quite cracked, as you can imagine. So we've plowed through those, started on a block, but should be set for at least a month, if not longer.
Well, I got sprung this evening. I just had a little bit of chocolate just before the little fella was going to bed, and I walked in while my better half was reading him a book, and he goes, "I smell chocolate, Daddy. Have you had chocolate?" I just deadpan. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. And my wife just cracked up laughing, and he's like, "Oh, I smell chocolate. I am going to go have some chocolate now." So I end up having to give him like a little segment of a Kit Kat fingers. So yeah, I got busted because he could smell the chocolate on me.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah, so what was Mother's Day here? It was a bit different, obviously being in lockdown and not actually being able to go to see my mother, and obviously not being able to do as much for my partner on behalf of my little fella. He's still a little bit too young to really organise anything. He drew a card. Originally, he did a card which he stuck just a white card, and to it he stuck like a broken key ring and a work note that he stole from my partner's computer screen, which is behind me here. So yeah, her original Mother's Day card was a work note and a broken key ring. We did upgrade that to a hand drawn picture at one point.
It's a weird feeling. Like we, did some calls this morning, your afternoon. So it's not all that different, I suppose, for us. But it's got to be weird out there not being able to, go and like what would you normally do for Mother's Day? I imagine you'd see a plethora of family, and he would see a plethora of family, and I'm sure they're missing out on that.
Yeah, well, my mum's birthday is the 9th of May, so it almost always falls on Mother's Day weekend or either side of. So it's kind of my mum's birthday is mixed into Mother's Day. I should actually say at the end of tonight's episode, my little fella will be telling listeners a little bit about his Mother's Day and what he did for my wife. But yeah, on a normal year, because it's mixed in with my mum's birthday, we'd always catch up with her. My wife will catch up with her mum at some point, and then on Mother's Day, then it's really about my wife and my son, and what we do as a family. So I guess we'd usually go out for breakfast because my wife likes doing that. I think breakfast is the easiest meal that you can replicate at home. So I'd much rather go out for lunch or dinner, where I think anyone can knock up a decent scrambled egg. But she likes going out, so that's what we generally do, and then just kind of chill out during the day. So it was different.
Yeah, you can kind of, like, I could hear a few people that I've spoken to. It's a bit of a somber time because they, you could clearly see that. I mean, I think WA, there are people that can catch up, which is good. So when I called my mum, my auntie was over, and they were sort of doing an afternoon tea thing. But it's got to be challenging not being able to connect on a day like today. And I think days like today are the days that lockdown is a bit harder, and this whole situation kind of hits home a little bit more, or it certainly has for us anyway.
Yeah, agree with that. I think if it had been Father's Day first, because I think by Father's Day, most of Australia will be out of lockdown and will be able to catch up as such. If it had been Father's Day in May and Mother's Day in September, then I don't know, it might not have been as somber, but I think being Mother's Day, I find Mother's Day more important than Father's Day to some extent. I don't know why that is, but I just, there's always been a little bit more meaning to Mother's Day than Father's Day. So yeah, it was certainly different, and summer's probably a good way of describing it. There was still people out and about today, but it didn't have the same vibe here that it would usually have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Father's Day's, it's an important day. Not being a father myself, so I can't really comment too much, but I think there is a general understanding out there. The challenges of the modern man is how to make Mother's Day better than Father's Day. Has just that little bit of appreciation. So it's a bit of a shame that, it's not the other way around, I guess.
Yeah, it's at least we could have done this year. The dads of the world could have offered to swap. Well, listen, mums, we'll swap. We'll have Father's Day in May in lockdown, and then in September we can have your day. Then, in fact, I'll do that in my household. Like we'll have a second Mother's Day in September, and I'll skip Father's Day this year.
There you go. That's actually not that bad of an idea at all.
But you did get to speak to your mum this morning, which is good. I guess the time difference with Perth, especially, would be actually fairly reasonable.
Yeah, Perth is good. It's Australia's actually not that bad now that we've gone on to daylight savings and you guys have come off. So it actually is probably nicer than the other way around. I found the other way around it was late PM sort of calls would get in for the Australian time, and then we pretty much missed. But this is, I think we called it about 9, and it's 3 or 4 in Perth, which is sort of perfect.
Yeah, it is. And what's going on in London at the moment with lockdown? We're progressively easing. Sydney's coming out with a bit more sort of easing of restrictions come this coming Friday, the 15th, I think it is. And I'm sure people will be lying on Bondi Beach this time next week and shit will be going bad again. But what's it looking like in London at the moment?
Yeah, well, lockdown doesn't affect rich people, as we know with those in Bondi. But over here, so we're waiting on an announcement at 7:00 tonight from Bojo. That's Boris Johnson. But it's still, in all honesty, a bit of a shit show. Like it's getting better, but it's still a couple of hundred people passing away, unfortunately, because of COVID. Like I know when I talk to people back in Australia, you guys talk about how many cases you have. Unfortunately, we talk about how many deaths because it's a reasonable number. It's much better than what it was when, a couple of weeks ago it was pushing north of 1,000. So it's curving the right way, but yeah, we've got a public holiday in 2 weeks, so no one expects that there's going to be much reprieve until then. Because the sun is out here, and like I go for my runs by myself as part of our once a day exercise thing. But unfortunately, we do see quite a few people sort of sunbaking in a park or group gatherings and that. So there's a general sentiment that most people are actually pretty over it here. But yet, from a standpoint, I can't see them pulling it back anytime soon. Just hopeful that we get like small group gatherings would make the world a difference. Just to be able to get out of your house and see somebody would actually be mind blowing right now. Because I think we're heading into month 3 next week.
Yeah, and we're much the same, but I guess we have that light at the end of the tunnel now, where ScoMo to your Bojo has basically said this is how it should look, and then it's up to each state to kind of do what they want. Then in Victoria, it's a bit more, bit more draconian, people have been saying. But in honesty, I don't think a lot of people care. We prefer to be, locked down and alive than kind of have it all open slather and dead. So, yeah, I think I can see the restrictions being lifted slowly. But if something goes wrong, we'll be going straight back to where we are now.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things we're forecasting over here and sort of working in healthcare is that, it's hopefully not for Australia, but I think here there's almost an inevitability that there'll be a second peak. But it's one of those things that, it's like the first time you make a mistake, you usually do it pretty bad. The second time you're a bit more prepared for it. So, yeah, we suspect there'll be some form of a second lockdown or whatnot, but really, like, it's got to be tough because, I think I read it's 23% of the working population over here are either unemployed or on furlough, which is the, government thing. So it's a rock and a hard place because how much can you ask people to basically sacrifice their livelihood and their families and food on the table and that versus, the health risks, I guess. Mm. That's the one that we're juggling.
Yeah, and it's much the same here in the same US where, they're in a worse situation than probably Australia and the UK combined. And, yeah, Trump being Trump just wants to try to open things back up and economically because that's what his platform for re-election was going to be. So it's kind of self-interest over there to some extent. But yeah, there's a line there. There's I guess there's a tightrope the politicians have to walk between opening it up enough that the economy doesn't completely keel over and not be able to be restarted, versus not allowing too many people to get too sick or to die from it.
Yeah, it's that big balancing act, and I suppose days like today, you really do acknowledge that it is a balancing act where you go, yes, there's a healthcare thing, but it's getting a bit better, and we're getting a bit smarter with it. We're getting further advanced with how we treat it, but also how important is family? Where is that sweet spot of being able to go, in a couple of weeks from now, for you guys to go and catch up with your parents?
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the bit which I guess is hard to reconcile. If you're going to visit your family in their house, that's a difficult thing to keep restrictions on longer term. Like I can get, okay, don't 25 you go to a restaurant and another 25 from another family, another 25 from another family, so you end up with 100 just random people in a restaurant. If you're just going, myself, my sister, our partners and our kids, 10 kids in the house or 10 people in the house, like it's right now, it's essentially low risk. Like, and that's the sort of stuff we'll try to kind of get raised. And I can understand why they didn't want to do it before Mother's Day, because I could just see people doing stupid stuff on Mother's Day if they just said, "Oh, listen, we're releasing the handbrake a little bit." People would have gone stupid this weekend. Next weekend it's just a normal weekend, so it might not go sort of too mental.
Yeah, that's actually the unfortunate thing that we have is we have a public holiday in 2 weeks, which normally you're excited about as a person. In this world, it actually works detrimentally to us, because it's like, well, we're not going to let you out for a public holiday.
Yeah. Hey, and with video calls, we video called my mum yesterday for her birthday, and we had a virtual birthday party. Like, my sister dropped a cake off at my mum. She didn't know that. She'd kept a little bit of cake. We had some cake here that we'd frozen back in October and defrosted, and we all had a virtual party. Like, all had a bit of cake. We sang happy birthday. The kids were dancing and singing and stuff. So while it's not the same as being in the same house, you have the same level of conversation, i.e. not much when there's kids around anyway.
It's actually a very point, and people are being more creative, or I hope people today were a bit more creative. Well, I mean, we were a bit more creative with the gifts and that we've sent, or sort of done some IOUs and whatnot. So I guess that's one positive of this situation is you have to think a little bit more of how you're going to make the day a bit special.
Yeah, and like there was no Kinder this year. I couldn't leverage Kinder for them to, basically instruct my 4-year-old to make a card. So
that's all.
Yeah, I had to get my hands dirty and help him make a card. And the first one was a complete fail, having a work note attached to the front. The second one was well received. And we also made a vase of flowers out of paper. So cut out shapes of flowers and pasted that into a vase. So there was a virtual flowers were handed over as well.
Well, if anything, hopefully it means that, some of the mothers out there got some more thoughtful gifts, and hopefully next year they can get thoughtful gifts and face-to-face time.
Exactly. We'll all learn from this. And next year hopefully we'll all be grateful that we all get to catch up and just spend time in the same room with each other. So hopefully this is the only COVID-19 Mother's Day we all have to live through.
Certainly an experience nonetheless.
Yeah, that is right. Well, that wraps it up for this week on Daddy Eats Last. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't done already. And while you're there, please leave a review. Also, tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they are guys. Most of all, thanks for listening. And now you'll hear from my little fella telling you all about his Mother's Day and what his mummy means to him. Catch you next week. Well, I hate to break up the hug between the little fella and his mummy on Mother's Day, but hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good.
Now, why do you love your mummy?
Because I love hugging her.
You love hugging her. That's pretty nice, isn't it?
And kissing.
Oh, yeah. And how old are you?
4.
So this is your 4th Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Is this the best one?
Yeah, man.
Now, what did you get Mummy for Mother's Day? Did you make something for Mummy?
A card.
A card. What was on the card?
Tweety Red and a work note.
Then you made another card, didn't you? What was on that? There was the Northern Lights?
It was a calendar card.
Ah, calendar card. What was on the bottom of that card?
Oranges. That was spring.
Ah, it was spring.
And summer.
Mm-hmm.
And when do you see what? I think as a part of the calendar, I think it's the sunset.
Oh, the sunset. And did you make some paper flowers for Mummy because we couldn't get real flowers today? Mm-hmm. And did Mummy have her first coffee in a while?
Why, yes.
That is pretty much how Mummy reacted as well.
Yeah.
Was she chuffed?
Yeah.
So you love your Mummy because you have nice hugs with her, and does she read you lots of books? Just have to break up another hug. Does Mummy read you lots of books?
Ho ho, young gum nut.
Yep, that's from Snugglepot and Cuddlepie, isn't it?
Oh yes. Ho ho, young gum nut.
You're a young gum nut.
Isn't the moon beautiful?
Which one's that from? Was that the one with the koalas?
Ho ho, young gum nut.
Is that all you got left? I can ask you. This is like the worst interview ever. Ask you any question, you answer it with yo ho, young gum nut.
Ho ho, young gum nut.
So, shall I wrap this up?
No. Ho ho, gum. Hey, ho ho, young gum nut.
So is everyone a gum nut?
Oh, I forgot. Ho ho, young gum nut.
Can you say goodbye to everyone who's listening to Daddy Eats Last?
Ho ho, young gum nut. Ho ho, young gum nut. Ho ho, young gum nut.
Well, there you go. That's pretty definitive. Yo ho, young gum nut from my little fella. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.